So thank you so much for the introduction. So kind of you. I said my name is Nelli Lähteemäki, and it's my very pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much for the invitation. I was asked to share a few of my learning lessons, from the past years, and I think it's a good idea because what I learned from Silicon Valley and from San Francisco totally made it possible. I'm not saying that it's a prerequisite for entrepreneurship, but it really kind of helped me out in building the courage and building the confidence and building the skill sets that's needed to start a growth company. So as mentioned, let's see how this works. Just a second. Well, while waiting for the right slide. So basically, as mentioned, I was educated at Aalto University, but the most important learning lessons for me came from San Francisco, where I've had the pleasure to live twice in my life already. I went to California for the first time in 2009 to do my master's thesis for IBM. And after that journey that lasted for 6 months, I still had some of my school left at Aalto University School of Science. I had only one thing in my mind, and that was to go back to Silicon Valley. I had nothing else in my mind because I just knew that place, not necessarily working for a big company, but especially working for a small company, learning from that environment of enthusiasm would be the right place for me to grow as a young professional, so to speak. I was actually working for a company called Eucalyptus Systems, which is a private cloud software company run by a Finn called Morten Mikkos, which many of you have heard. He was previously the CEO for MySQL, so one of the maybe most successful entrepreneurs in Finland. And I was able to start working for Martin and for Eucalyptus via this fantastic program called Startup Life, which is a sort of kind of an internship program organized by Aalto Entrepreneurship Society, which brings students or young professionals from all around, from Finland in general, to Silicon Valley, nowadays also to Singapore and to New York, etc., to do internships for startups. And like they say, you learn best by doing. You learn best at startups. It was, I think, one of the best decisions of my life to apply to Startup Life. In 2011, they sent the first batch of interns to San Francisco. We were 6 of us back at that time, and I think almost all of us stayed there over the internship period. I ended up staying for a year before I was kind of filled with the entrepreneurship kind of excitement and came back home to start up. And as a little kind of add to this program, even though they didn't ask me to do it, just apply for that program. It's a brilliant way to go work for the best startups all around the world. And it's not only for Aalto students, you can apply from anywhere in Finland. So one of the best decisions of my life. So as said, Eucalyptus was my first, I would say my second best school right after my current startup. I'm going to share a few of my learning lessons, a few of the most important building blocks that actually helped me out in starting up my own company. What I learned from Eucalyptus, what I learned from the Silicon Valley, what I learned from San Francisco. The first and the most important thing was the attitude towards work and the attitude towards actually your own skill sets and your own abilities and what you can actually do as a young professional. I always remember the first day at work at Eucalyptus. So I was working remotely from San Francisco. Eucalyptus is based in Santa Barbara, which is close to Los Angeles, a little bit south, in the South California. So I was brought there, and it was dark, and I was kind of scared because to be honest. Even though I'm from the School of Science, I had no idea of infrastructure as a service, cloud software that I was supposed to sell in as soon as possible. So it was kind of a frightening situation for me in a sense that I had no idea what I was entering to. And I always remember the first thing that I met was one of my brilliant colleagues, Ben Coffey, back at that time, who I told that, okay, I'm kind of excited. I have no idea of actually this technology that I'm supposed to learn. And he said that, Nelli, listen, if you think you can't, you're right. And that totally kind of struck me. I was like, yeah, that's absolutely true. And he looked deep into my eyes, like, we believe in you. We believe that you can learn this stuff, and we will do our best, to make you learn fast. And that's the best thing you can say to a young entrepreneur. So this was basically the technology that I had no idea before. So all of these, any of these words didn't make any sense for me at that point. But of course, when you're in that kind of an environment where people believe in you and in your learning skills, and they do their best to support you in that journey, guess what? Of course I learned that stuff. There's no other way that, for me than just to learn that. And I think that kind of a learning experience, when you throw yourself into something totally new, even though you sort of know that you maybe can learn this stuff, but you don't have any kind of necessarily cloud computing skills to start with. And then learning it, of course, because people can learn basically whatever they want to learn. That made me think about Finland and the way maybe we maybe sometimes lack this funny thing called confidence and self-confidence and confidence in our own abilities. Because let's take an example. We have a person who has a certain set of skills or abilities. And this person has quite a lot of confidence. I'm like, yes, I can learn this and this new stuff. I can learn, about, some medical technologies or whatever I'm supposed to learn. And guess what happens to the skills if the confidence is there? Well, the skills grow and the abilities grow normally because, if you kind of keep pushing, if you believe in yourself and you have a few people around you that believe in your skills, normally you live and learn, and your skill set gets better. And guess what happens to the confidence? Well, it grows as well, and then you're ready to do even bigger steps or bigger leaps of faith. Now, let's take another example. We have a person who has exactly the same skill set and abilities, the same talents, and the person has, doesn't, have that much self-confidence, or he or she doesn't even know how good he is in terms of his or her skill sets. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that everybody in Finland has this kind of a situation, but too many times I think we are missing parts of our abilities and skills because of this. Because we don't have the environment that kind of pushes you to grow and pushes you to take these leaps of faith. Of course, over time, and this also means that people don't take the crazy project or don't go to the crazy new jobs or even start companies because they don't think they can pull it off. Well, luckily, normally the confidence grows over time, and maybe sometimes it kind of reaches the level when the person actually understands that yes, I'm actually good. This is my skill set, and that's already a good progress. Now let's take a third example. Let's say that this is the same person, or the person with the same skill set and abilities. Now, what kind of a confidence do you need if you're an entrepreneur? Well, a crazy confidence. Somebody would say it's even like an illusion or delusion or something like that. But seriously, you need to have a crazy confidence in yourself and your abilities and first of all, to do things that you've never done before, and in most cases, to do things that no one else has ever done before. So that kind of goes beyond, and that's maybe one of my call to action to all of us here. How can we kind of support the guy or girl next to you to take these leaps of faith? Because this is the only way. If you want to start a growth company, you need to have these kind of encouragements to overcome kind of your lack of current abilities. You have to have the belief in your own ability to grow and learn. Because, according to the statistics, most of the growth startups, they don't succeed. So you need to have this kind of a confidence to start, building startups. And this is something that, we in Finland, we really need to understand and really need to start pushing onwards if we want to create growth startups that will create new jobs and wealth to Finland in the future. Now, as said, the only prerequisite for, for working in Silicon Valley was fast learning. And it's pretty encouraging, isn't it? Second thing learned at Eucalyptus was the importance of corporate culture. It was all about it. It was the first lunch when we were having with the CFO of Eucalyptus back at that day. And he said that, well, corporate culture is what keeps us humble when things go really, really well, and it lifts us up when facing challenges. And that was something that was kind of, we were living that kind of phase or kind of statement every day. So of course there were all kinds of funny things, all kinds of band stuff and lunch break bike rides and all this good stuff. But at the end of the day, it was much more than just these fun activities. It was the culture of openness. It was the culture of open discussion, open debate. Martin was always encouraging us to have a debate with each other, to have a kind of open feedback flowing, from a colleague to another, which was crucial, because it also meant that everybody got positive feedback very, very often, but also the constructive feedback, which created this kind of a good loop for learning as well. And also this openness went beyond, the Eucalyptus side. It went all the way to the whole culture of Silicon Valley. Everything is open there. People are open up their lives in the social media. The groups of friends are open. There's always a new phase in the group because that's just the way it goes. People welcome, they embrace new people and new ideas, and that makes it very, very special. Now, the third learning lesson was the size of the market, because we as Finnish startups, we have the danger of kind of getting stuck in Finland, and like Timo said in his presentation, that you kind of maybe constrain yourself to a certain geographic location, but you really have to look beyond, because the market in the US and outside Finland is huge, and also it means that also the little niches are huge, that you wouldn't even think there would be business if you look it from Finland's perspective. This is an example. Have you ever heard of bakery for dogs? Well, neither was I. What do you mean? Do dogs need bakeries, like some baked goods? No, in my opinion, they necessarily don't. But in the small area in San Francisco where I lived, there were 2 bakeries for dogs. 2. So the niche was the niche where these guys were working was huge enough to make 2 dog bakeries work. Another example, was the gingerbread house builders. That if you even have you would have this kind of crazy idea. If you do it well, you can pull it off in the US, because the market is just big enough. Fourth and very, very important lesson was the epic service, epic customer service. Customer is always the king. And when these kinds of normal customer-facing, face-to-face services are built with this kind of a mentality, as well as the mobile services, all kinds of services are built with this mentality, not to just meet the kind of the expectations of a customer, but to exceed time after time. It kind of makes a difference. If there's in my favorite restaurant, they had this kind of plate in the wall. Our goal is to have guest service that is not just the best, but legendary. So this is the mindset. It's not that it's good, that it's great, but it has to be legendary. It has to be better than anybody else, which is awesome. And this is another example. I became a passionate road biker in San Francisco, and I got my first road bike there. And I received this handwritten card from the sales guy who had sold me the bike 2 weeks after the purchase. It says that, yeah, Nelli, it was great to have you here. Let us know if you need any help. And I hope you enjoy your bike. Even though it might not be even the Nate guy who sold me this card, but this was such a kind of great gesture. Of course, I went to the same store to get all my rest of the equipment and to say hi to Nate because he was just an amazing guy. But this just gives you an example of the level of ambition in terms of service and in terms of exceeding customer expectation, which is awesome. And we as Finnish startups, we should I like to use the the word. We have to be able to play in the NHL level. We cannot play at the local SM-liiga level. It may be enough here, but it's not enough globally. So we have to, at least, we don't have to necessarily live in the US, but we have to go there and just feel the pulse and see the kind of passion and fire in those entrepreneurs' eyes in order to understand what the level is, in order to be able to be better than them. Because we can be better than them. It's not about that. We just need to understand what the level in NHL is to be able to compete in those markets. And maybe a few more kind of ideas about, well, founding a company in general. When I was still working for Eucalyptus, which was absolutely fantastic, I have to say, it's a great learning lesson to work for a startup. You don't necessarily have to always found a startup, and that was actually the kind of one of the greatest learning lessons too. I was listening to this one brilliant female VC called Anmiura Ko, who is a co-founder at Floodgate fund, this kind of VC fund. And she said that, listen, like, not everybody has to be a founder. Not everybody has to be the crazy person who takes the crazy risk and risks all his family and house and everything. You really don't have to be that. There's a little bit of a lore that, there's something super cool about it, but that's not necessary. Because at a startup, whether you were, maybe the kind of a little bit later, entrant, say, who still became a co-founder 6 months later, or the employee number 1, or employee number 5, or 15, or 20, it doesn't matter. Every single person in a small company like that are super important. Startup is such a fragile kind of little package that, whether you were the founder or employee number 10, you guys are all as important. And that was a great kind of reminder for me that, and hopefully this kind of a message can be spread in Finland as well, that just join a startup because you will leave a mark for sure. And most probably, if you're interested in getting some shares of the company, most probably if the founders are smart, they will create some kind of an incentive program for you, even though you wouldn't be a founder. And maybe this was kind of a picture that I draw myself. Sorry, it's a very ugly picture, but it kind of just clarified me when I was thinking, like, should I become an entrepreneur or not? I drew this to myself. So, did I really want to become an entrepreneur? If I didn't have an idea, well then, or if I didn't want to become an entrepreneur, then I don't have to kind of continue this exercise. If I wanted to become an entrepreneur, I was thinking, like, well, do I have an idea for that? If I didn't, well, no worries. You can always go work for a startup. There are many ways to go work for a startup, or then just hang around in the kind of entrepreneurship societies or whatever, places where you have a bunch of these exciting, inspirational entrepreneurs around you, and then see if you get ideas, if you meet people with whom you could probably found a company, and then if you just keep repeating this loop until you get an idea, and then just do it, and do it right now, because, like, I think Sami Inkinen said that the best time for founding a startup was yesterday, and the second best is today, and this works especially well for everybody who have an idea, who have a little bit of entrepreneurial fire in them, because like being an entrepreneur is a journey. I actually wish I was 27 when I started Health Puzzle, and I wish I had started, working like or founding startups or working for startups much earlier, just because it's an amazing learning lesson. I've never learned anything as much, in a short period of time than working for a startup. I can't even describe it. So I wish even that I had started a little bit earlier than I had. But still, it's never too late. You can start up a company whether you were 40 or 60 years old, or whether you just had your first kid or whatever. Like there's no, limitation for that, luckily. So everything in my case led to founding Health Puzzle actually last summer in 2012, and how would I say, like these building blocks that I was given from San Francisco, they live with us every day in the at Health Puzzle, hopefully. So building up a corporate culture that makes sense, that that gets people excited, and that we have the kind of sense of purpose every day for what we do is so important. So what we actually do, so we're building a mobile health service that helps people turn health data into healthy actions. So under the hood, we automatically merge different health data streams together and analyze them. And on top of the hood, we provide our users with a service that helps them kind of grab a relevant health-related topic that's interesting for them and start acting upon it. So it's sort of an instrument for healthy life change. And one more thing maybe about the learning lessons from the Silicon Valley is that, like, seriously, like we're now in the phase that we're raising funding, and we're now in the phase that we always, like all the startups should be, that we are very kind of alert of what's going on. And what really I think like if we succeed and if we can pull this thing off, it was because I was I was able to have the San Francisco in me, not necessarily be in San Francisco all the time, but have the San Francisco spirit in me, have the encouragement and the kind of exciting kind of mindset throughout the journey. So thank you so much for your attention. I'm more than happy to hear questions if you have any. The one thing I can say that, first of all, I said, you don't have to be in San Francisco or in Silicon Valley. The Silicon Valley has to be in you. So go see that place, or go to the US in general, either New York or San Francisco or some other startup hubs, to see how things are being done there, and then just take the best parts from there, and then come to Finland and take the best parts that we have here, because we have so much good stuff here. We have as Timo said, we have amazing engineers, we have amazing talent, we have great this kind of peruskallio, this kind of solid knowledge and kind of reliability here, that combined with the crazy Silicon Valley spirit can actually build future innovations and services to the world. So thank you so much for your attention. Yeah.